Good evening and welcome to This Is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno. We're live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. You can always use the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316 and talk to us. SMS line 20316 on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316. Talk to us, and today we will be highlighting about the doctors' strike. And also during this time of the festivity, we only have 3 days to Christmas. We also want to hear from you. Are you traveling to your up-country area? It's a norm for most of us Kenyans. Christmas ikikaribia, we all want to go to Ushago to spend this time with our family and even our parents and loved ones. Well, this time is a little bit different. And if you'll be traveling, I also want to hear from you. And if not, give me a good reason. And then we'll highlight much more about that in a couple of minutes on the doctor's strike. We also need to know that patients are suffering all across the country because of the doctor's strike that commenced today, actually. And we'll be looking into that also. Welcome. Now, Kenyans seeking medical services in public hospitals are set to undergo untold suffering as doctors across the country today downed their tools after the government failed to heed their demands, which include enhanced salaries. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, called on its members to withdraw their services, joining clinical officers and nurses who are on strike after the government failed to meet their demands. A meeting of the Ministries of Health, Labour and the Council of Governors and the medics that was scheduled for Sunday aborted reportedly after the government officials boycotted that meeting. Both sides are now spoiling for a fight with the Ministry of Health, actually, telling counties to crack a whip on the striking medics who are bullish and calling for the threat a bluff. Over the weekend, Kenya's Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said in a televised remarks that medics on strike should return to work to avoid being fired.
We'll make doctors go back to work. And I will say it very clearly and again. Court orders will not stop this strike. Court orders will not make doctors stop from dying. Court orders will not stop infections or reduce infections amongst the doctors. It is our lives, and we have been pushed to the wall. We gave 21 days. We extended for a further 14 days. So a total of 35 days. Decisions now have to be made on these matters. And we know that there are certain people who are misadvising our president. We are not fighting. All we have put forth on the table is our issues that rely and that will determine whether a doctor will die or not die in the next few weeks, in the next few months, and even moving forward. So it is about our lives.
Well, there we have the doctor representatives saying that they will not go back to work even if they receive a court order to do so. Now agonized by losing their colleagues in the COVID-19 battlefield, doctors pushing for a comprehensive medical cover by the National Health Insurance Fund, that is NHIF, for all the doctors, employment of at least 2,000 medical officers, pharmacists and dentists to bolster the straining numbers of the medics. Now they are also demanding provision of adequate and standard PPEs in all the healthcare facilities across the country and conversations of the contractual employment or the permanent and pensionable plan. Now the doctors are also seeking for enhancement of risk allowances, and this is after the withdrawal of the COVID-19 allowance that was payable to only 3 months and up to 30,000 Kenya shillings per month. Now, they also want the risk allowance capped at 20,000 Kenya shillings to be scaled up to the reflective of the pandemic situation in our country. And equally, the doctors are calling for the reinstatement of their call allowance that ranged between 72,000 Kenya shillings and 80,000 Kenya shillings. Well, as this is also continuing, the strike is affecting patients that are suffering in different hospitals across the country.
Mpaka saa hii hajapata usaidizi yoyote. Sijui nitafanya nini saa hii. Na mkuu amevunjika. Sasa mkuu akivunjika, akipita saa ya kusaidiza, utapata kweli lini? Ni kuharibika tu.
Kwamba serikali wasikize malilio ya madaktari na waweze kutekelezea, kwa sababu wasishughulike na hii mambo ya PPI tu PPI. PPI aende mali. Maisha ya mwananchi ya Kenya ni amana kuliko PPI. Kwa sababu tukikimbiza PPI na tupoteze wa Kenya, hatutakuwa tumesaidia. So na ombi langu hata kwa national government kwamba tuweke mambo yetu kando na tuone ya kwamba madaktari wetu wameweza kupata yale vitu ambayo ilikuwa inahitaji ndio waweze kusaidia wa Kenya. PPI tutafanya hiyo, lakini mwananchi, maisha kwanza. Maisha ya mwananchi ni amana kuliko PPI.
All right, let us look at this situation more intensively. When doctors are being sworn in, they take an oath, and they call it the Hippocratic Oath. And in this oath, they actually say that they will be there for their patients. And right now, we have a pandemic in our country. But the doctors are complaining that most of the demands that they have made were not met. And that is the exact reason as to why they are actually on a strike right now. They have downed their tools. And just from the video that we have been watching and the audio that we listened to, the patients are suffering. Most people in the hospitals are not receiving any help that they deserve from these doctors who are not even present in the hospital. They have laid out their demands, and it has been made known to the public and also to the government. But I want to hear from you. Do you think these doctors are justified to go on a strike at this time when we are having the pandemic, and considering the health sector in our country and all the hitches that we are having? Do you think they are justified to go on a strike at this time? Talk to us using the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. I want to hear from you. Now to matters politics, and the ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna has issued an apology over sentiments that he made while campaigning in Msambweni on December 11th this year. Mr. Sifuna and the Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa were summoned by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission on December 16th, 2020, after they exchanged reckless utterances. While addressing the media today, the ODM Secretary General recounted his remarks, urging those offended by his utterances to forgive him.
We have had that conversation with the Commission, and I want the people who know me to understand that this is not what Sifuna is about, and definitely this is not what the ODM party is about. My remarks were unnecessarily graphic, and even following the discussions that we have seen in the country, I could come up with 1,001 ways to communicate what I wanted to communicate in a better manner. As you know, I am a lawyer, and I would never advocate for sexual violence. It is the worst form of violence against anyone, even in political competition. So those remarks are regrettable, and I hope that the people who know that that is not the person that I am about will understand and appreciate and accept the apology that I have just given.
Well, there Mr. Sifuna said that he will go for 50 days of community service just because of the utterances that he made. Well, this is a leader saying that he is apologetic for the utterances that he gave. He actually asked those that were offended to forgive him, and also giving a 50 days community service. Okay. Well, remember the question that we are asking today is, do you think the doctors are justified to go on a strike during this time of our health issues? Do you think they're justified to go for actually a strike during this time? My name is Sarah Otieno. Mama J, thank you so much for tuning in and saying welcome back. My plans are simple but precious: to spend time with my family, cook for my babies, and also go out with my sweetheart. Oh yes, thank you so much. This is Lynn. Thank you so much for tuning in. Godfrey. Godfrey from Tamu, you're saying some of us are already here in Ushago, tumesha wasili. So apparently, people are still going back to Ushago even during this time that we are having the festivity. And Agnes, you tuned in from Thome Estate, asante sana. Now going back to traveling plans. Well, some of us, and also during the 2 hours on radio, we talked about going to the Ushago areas, traveling during this festivity. And some of the people are saying they will travel, others are saying they will not travel. But above all, do you actually know the dangers that come with people gathering together, talking about COVID-19 and the transmission of this virus from one person to another? Well, we have Margaret Sandero with this explainer just telling us how we can protect ourselves and what to avoid. Listening.
The COVID-19 pandemic has been stressful and isolating for many people. Gatherings during the holiday can be an opportunity to reconnect with family and friends. This holiday season, consider how your holiday plans can be modified to reduce the spread of COVID-19 to keep your friends, families, and communities healthy and safe. The following factors can contribute to the risk of getting and spreading COVID-19 at small in-person gatherings. Number 1.
Community levels of COVID-19.
High or increased levels of COVID-19 cases in gathering location, as well as in the areas where attendees are coming from, increase the risk of infection and spread among attendees. Family and friends should consider the number of COVID-19 cases in their community and in the community where they plan to celebrate when deciding whether to host or attend a gathering. Number 2.
Exposure during travel.
Airports, bus stations, train stations, public transport, gas stations, and rest stops are all places travelers can be exposed to the virus in the air and on the surfaces. Number 3.
Location of the gathering.
Indoor gatherings, especially those with poor ventilation, for example, small enclosed spaces with no outside air, pose more risk than outdoor gatherings. Number 4.
Duration of the gathering.
Gatherings that last longer pose more risk than shorter gatherings. Being within 6 feet of someone who has COVID-19 for a cumulative total of 15 minutes or more greatly increases the risk of becoming sick and requires a 14-day quarantine. Number 5.
Number and crowding of people at the gathering.
Gatherings with more people pose more risk than gatherings with fewer people. The size of a holiday gathering should be determined based on the ability of the attendees from different households to stay 6 feet, that is 2 arms length apart, wear masks, and wash hands. Number 6.
Behavior of attendees prior to the gathering.
Individuals who did not consistently adhere to social distancing, wearing masks, hand washing, and other prevention behaviors pose more risk than those who consistently practice these safety measures. Number 7.
Behavior of attendees during the gathering.
Gatherings with more safety measures in place, such as wearing masks, social distancing, and washing hands, pose less risk than gatherings where fewer people or no preventive measures are being implemented. Use of alcohol or drugs may also alter judgment and make it more difficult to practice COVID-19 safety measures. In conclusion, as cases continue to increase rapidly across the country, the safest way to celebrate the holidays is to celebrate at home with the people you live with. Gatherings with family and friends who do not live with you can increase the chances of getting or spreading COVID-19.
Well, there we have it. That's 7 major pointers on what we are supposed to do to protect ourselves from getting COVID, especially during this time of Christmas. Now let's head over to Nairobi County, where the Nairobi Speaker Benson Mutura has today been sworn in as the interim governor for the next 60 days following the ouster of Mike Mbuvi Sonko last week. Mutura took oath of office at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, today at around 10 a.m. And during the ceremony, which was conducted under heavy police presence, Mutura assured Kenyans that he was ready to commit to his work in serving the people of Nairobi.
In the 60 days, I will be at the helm of this county. I will provide the required leadership to ensure a smooth transition. When Nairobi went to the poll in the year 2017, what they expected was service delivery. We therefore have no choice but to deliver today would have never occurred had we focused on service delivery.
Well, the acting governor, Benson Mutura, has signed the governor's warrant that has given the Treasury the green light to release the money to the county. Former Governor Mike Sonko had refused to sign this warrant, leading to a stalemate in the operation of the county, since October this year. The government's warrant is a document that authorizes withdrawal of funds from the county revenue fund, and the warrant also gives the green light to the implementation of the Nairobi City County budget financial year 2020-2021 of up to 37.5 billion shillings. Well, there we have it, and we say all the best to Mr. Benson Mutura as he takes over office for the next 60 days as the acting governor of Nairobi County. While President Uhuru Kenyatta is back from the Intergovernmental Authorities of Development leaders who met in Djibouti yesterday with hopes of solving regional troubles that are pulling them back amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Among the issues the leaders will discuss will be the Ethiopia internal conflict, border conflict between Ethiopia and Sudan, and also the Kenya's diplomatic spat with Somalia. Somalia had last week written a letter to the regional authority asking it to mediate the ongoing stalemate, and Kenya has denied claims by the Somali government. A stalemate from the Somali Ministry of Foreign Affairs revealed Hamdok has called the meeting in an attempt to strike consensus between the two neighbors.
The recent tension between Somalia and Kenya, two neighboring countries, which led to the breakdown of diplomatic relations, remain a serious concern for the African Union. I would therefore like to call on the two parties to open dialogue with a view to the resumption of these relations and ask IGAD to strongly encourage them in this regard. Kenya, it should be noted, is a troop contributing country to AMISOM and hosts a large community of Somali refugees. I am convinced that the long-standing and strong links between the two countries and peoples can overcome the current challenges.
It is my hope that, and I'm sure this will happen, that the discussion we shall hold shall give us an opportunity. Let me mention some of them. That we will have a brief from His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed on the situation and aftermath of recent development in Ethiopia. It is also a chance for us to continue the conversation on managing the political challenges in our region, hear updates and progress on the ongoing peace processes in South Sudan and the transitions processes in Sudan and hopefully in Somalia.
All right, there we have it. Now, in Tanzania, female circumcision, or also known as female genital mutilation, is still practiced among some ethnic groups as a rite of passage into womanhood. Now, some girls are forced or coerced into it by their families to avoid being shunned and also end up being so scared in life. Now, to bridge the gap between health and the tradition, health care non-profit, this is AMREF, has been promoting an alternative rite of passage for these girls.
Margaret Sandero is one of the countless young girls in Tanzania who are forced into female genital mutilation every day. She's now 14 years old, but one of the bad memories that lasts forever in her mind was when, at the age of 11, she nearly bled to death when she was subjected to FGM.
We were 9 girls at the time we were taken into the ceremony house. Then one woman came and started cutting us. We bled a lot. Some were taken to hospitals. Others have died. I was not willing, and I can't wish to see other girls undergoing circumcision.
More than 25% of girls and women have undergone FGM in Tanzania. In rural pastoral communities, many girls are forced to undergo FGM by their parents in the hopes of securing a high dowry. Girls who have not undergone it are believed to be more promiscuous. Others are forced by their family in the name of tradition, an act without which they will be shunned in their villages.
If a girl gets married without being circumcised, according to us Maasai, it's a sin. That's why if married, then a man finds out that a Maasai girl is not circumcised, he will reject her because he says she's still a young girl and not a woman.
To end the brutal tradition, healthcare non-profit AMREF introduced an alternative rite of passage with non-harmful traditional rituals to mark and celebrate a girl's initiation into womanhood. More than 15,000 girls have gone from girlhood to womanhood while avoiding FGM.
The alternative passage of age. Once they've come of age, we follow all their traditions but add one segment, teaching the girls on reproductive health and their gender rights. We are also celebrating the age passage ceremony together, but without circumcision. So, we've removed the circumcision segment and we plan to remove it permanently.
This was also a way to make a living for circumcisers through getting money and gifts. But through the program, circumcisers have stopped their business. AMREF is now providing them with assistance in the form of loans.
When I circumcise a girl, I get one goat, which is like 50,000 shillings. But now I have stopped to circumcise girls. Until this time, I don't circumcise anymore.
Although the practice is illegal in Tanzania, it continued illegally in some communities, which carried it out in secret initiation or rite of passage ceremonies.
The problem is starting to decrease, but nowadays statistics show that some communities, especially the cow-based communities, they have noticed that the government has been strong in fighting these acts. What they do is that as soon as a child is born, they immediately circumcise her.
Meanwhile, Margaret is celebrating the same ceremonies that led her into FGM 3 years ago, but now she's smiling as more than 450 girls of her age mark the passage of age without undergoing the hostile traditional act.
Well, there we have it, and looking at it on a positive point of view, now FGM is being phased out in Tanzania, even as the girls have their rite of passage in other different ways apart from FGM. Now, on the question of the day, Mutanu, you're saying, with all the respect I have for our medics all around the world and here at home, they are not just choosing to down their tools right now. They said, let's think about their plea as well. It's hard to see the people taking care of the health of others doing it without the needed equipment, yet there is a huge campaign on the Constitution's reforms. I tend to believe that this is what is forcing their hand. How do they, both doctors and government, listen to the plea of the sick calling out for help in hospitals and still keep their stand? But I don't get one thing. Doctors become aggrieved, they go on to the strikes. Teachers become aggrieved, they go on to a strike. When the common Mwananchi gets aggrieved, who is there to fight for them? This year, take it upon yourself to actually have a Christmas prayer. This song is by Dietrich Harden, playing right here on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. My name is Sarah Otieno, and let's move on to some international stories where the Ethiopian refugees are evacuating border camps in Sudan as aid resources are diverted to the Rakoba, that is the country's main camp, where many still lack food and shelter. But refugees say the camp far away from the border may be safer than the Sudanese army that are reported to have a cross-border raid very soon.
In the past week, hundreds of families have been bused from camps near the Ethiopian border here to Rakoba, where most of the roughly 50,000 new Ethiopian refugees in Sudan are now staying. A few days earlier, refugees were being told to come here to find food and shelter. But in recent days, the war in Ethiopia's Tigray region seems to be closer to the border than before, and refugees say moving further into Sudan has become more urgent. Many here arrived Thursday night from the Hashaba camp. not far from the border with Ethiopia.
I could hear planes hitting the town across the border, soldiers and gunfire.
Like many refugees who arrived in the past week, Kidani has no place to sleep and is waiting to register for basic necessities. The camp has quickly become crowded and families are making shelters out of their clothes or items they have found. When they fled their homes a little over a month ago, many people witnessed beatings, looting, and killings on the street. Even small children say they remember running past dead bodies as they fled. Phone and internet service is still blacked out in much of the region, so many of the war's details remain unknown. People who have been able to talk to their families inside the war zone say they are told it is no safer now than it was when they fled.
If I go back, I will certainly be killed.
There is no immediate relief even for the most vulnerable newly arrived in Kuba.
I cannot collect water because I am too weak. My wife is also sick and she is pregnant. We need help, but we are not getting it here.
A statement posted on the Sudanese Army's Facebook page says soldiers were killed and property was destroyed in the recent cross-border attack, but it did not include further details.
Well, the U.S. has added a second COVID-19 vaccine to its arsenal, boosting efforts to beat back an outbreak so dire that has had the nation regularly recording more than 3,000 deaths in one day. Much-needed doses are set to arrive today after the Food and Drug Administration authorized an emergency rollout of the vaccine developed by the Moderna and the National Institutes of Health. The move marks the world-first authorization of the Moderna shots, and the vaccine is very similar to one of the Pfizer and Germany biotech that's now being dispensed to millions of health workers across the country and also nursing home residents in the biggest vaccination drive in the U.S. History starts to ramp up.
It is amazing to be able to see the second vaccine now receiving emergency use authorization for distribution to prevent the terrible spread of this terrible disease. And all of this coming less than a year from when we first learned about this pathogen. Between Pfizer and Moderna, we should have enough doses just this month of December to immunize the first 20 million people in what we hope will be a big push to get this terrible virus behind us, although that will take many more months to get to all Americans. Frankly, if we don't succeed in getting 80% or so of Americans immunized against COVID-19 by the middle of this 2021 year, we have the risk that this epidemic could go on and on and on. So this really matters, and we're going to have to do a lot here to try to get information in front of people to make up their minds. Communities of color have been hit particularly hard by COVID-19. It's tragic when you see how this virus has shown a really bright light on what was already a problem in our country of health disparities. And the same groups that have suffered from things like diabetes and heart disease and hypertension are also the ones who are having higher morbidity and mortality from COVID-19. Those are the very groups that would stand to benefit the most from the vaccines, and yet they are also groups that, because of past experiences, are a little bit distrustful about whether this is going to be good for them.
All right, there we have it. And now, Godfrey, on the question of the day, you're saying doctors, I think, have no choice. They go back to work and their colleagues die in conditions that the government can easily sort out. So yes, they do not have a choice, according to you. I have someone else here. This is Moses from Qatar, and you're saying Merry Christmas week, and you're saying continue being blessed and Merry Christmas to all the family, media family, and all those that are listening all the way from Qatar. Thank you so much, Moses, for tuning in, and Merry Christmas week to you too. And I also have someone else here. You're saying, My name is Lynn, and I will get back to you, Lynn, on the SMS that you have texted. Priscilla, asante sana for tuning in. And Patricia, too. Patricia SL, I have seen you. Thank you so much for tuning into the show and for contributing to the discussion that we are having today. Now, before we end this show, there is a transport company that has announced that the company will commit to another 10 million free or discounted rides to help ensure that transportation is not an issue for the people that are seeking to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. The company announced that it's partnering with Natural Urban League and the Morehouse School of Medicine and also the National Network for this offer. And these organizations have strong ties with the communities of color, which have been hit hard by the pandemic.
Today's announcement, we announced that we were committing 10 million free and discounted rides around the globe for those who needed vaccines. One of the things we're trying to do with this is to make sure that a ride isn't the reason you don't get a COVID vaccine, that everybody has access to this. We know that in the U.S., one of the communities that have been disproportionately affected are people of color. They've gotten COVID and paid heavy price for COVID at a much higher rate than majority communities. And so we want to address that. That's why it's important to work with different groups who can really identify the core people who may need a ride. And so that's why we're working with these great organizations throughout the world who help us identify those folks.
Such a good move there by the transport company. Now let's look at Facebook on what people are saying. Huko Facebook. Jasper Sifuna, thank you for getting back to us about the signal. David Kariuki, thank you so much for welcoming me all the way from Nakuru. Jamie pia nakuona. Edwin Cheruyot. Okay. Achiek Chol, Godi Opingo, and Helen Nyakianda. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Emmanuel Yogo, how are you doing? Unasema, what are they warning us about? COVID-19 is here. Wear a mask, wash your hands, avoid handshakes, keep distance, sanitize, watch out for the elderly people, and people that are dying from it. Nini mpya, tuna need to observe all these rules. Faith Ngige, asante sana for tuning in. Simon Shashava, you're saying, what about people that their up country is just in Nairobi? Nyinyi mshafika up country. Thank you so much for actually tuning into the show today. And I also have Vincent Gekonge. You're saying, I am at Kisii already. My relatives, friends, and neighbors have arrived. Others are on their way coming home. Huyu anaitwa nani? Hedriel, you're saying traveling is a must. I'm already at Shags. Anyway, as we travel, as we make merry during this Christmas season, just remember Jesus is the reason for the season. And also because of COVID-19, take care of yourself and your loved ones. Social distancing, make sure you sanitize and wash your hands whenever necessary and frequently as possible. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. My name is Sarah Otieno. I wish you a lovely week and a good night.
And more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.